how does the like more classical look get achieved? Like what tactics does someone use to make a film look more like the 90s than
Well, I mean,
today?
it's easy to shoot on film. You
Hmm.
know, uh, digital digital just has an overall different look and feel to it. So like I'm a purist. I'm a film purist when it comes to my own projects because I like getting the classical look for the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not a purist when it comes to films in general. Like I understand different directors have different intentions and whatnot, and so I enjoy movies shot on all sorts of different cameras and whatnot. But like something that kind of gets me is like say you want to make a movie about the 60s and you shoot it on a digital camera and then you uh, and then you make it look very digital. Uh, like that's I guess that's fine, but it doesn't exactly bring you back to the 60s. There's something just about the film grain, how the film picks up highlights a bit differently, how the film interprets colors a bit differently than digital, and uh, how that just in our minds, right? Like because we're so used to watching movies from the 60s and the 20th century, and honestly, like digital wasn't a mainstream way to shoot movies up until like 2012.
Hmm.
Uh, and it just is. I don't know that it's like we've been conditioned to think that especially the grain patterns of film immediately puts us back aesthetically into um, these different time periods. Um, and for example, like when PTA made a Phantom Thread, he shot that on 35. Well, something to know about film as well is that film technology has actually gotten a lot better over the years.
Hmm.
So if you shoot on 16 millimeter now, it like if you use 50D, which is the slowest 16 stock, and for everybody out there who maybe doesn't know much about film, the film that's really available now is just Kodak film. So there used to be Fuji and Orwo and these other companies, but now it's pretty much just Kodak. Um, and so you can shoot with 50D, 200T, 250D, or 500T. And then there's two different black and white stocks. There's Tri-X, which is a reversal, and then there's Double X, which is what I shot my short film on, which is a black and white negative. Uh, I don't think I would shoot anything completely on reversal film just because it's a little bit more finicky than
Hmm.
negative film. But but the slower the stock, the less grain it's going to have. So 500T is 500 ISO, 500 ASA. That's going to be grainier than 50D. That's going to be a lot grainier than 50D. So if you shoot 500 so if you shoot 50D 16, it actually kind of looks like 35 millimeter of the 80s or 90s. Uh, so that's a pretty easy way, and it's a cheaper way to make it look like something from the 20th century. Uh, just because of the colors and the grain structure. Uh, Something that's been happening a bit recently on some movies. I think that the Holdovers did it, but I know for a fact that Dune and the Batman did this.
Hmm.
Is that they've gone for this intermediate look where so I know for a fact that the Batman did this, but as I said, I'm kind of sure that the Holdovers did it, but they haven't talked at length about this yet, so I'm gonna wait and see. Where so on the Batman, they shot the film on a digital camera. I believe it was like uh the Alexa 65 or the Alexa LF, one of the large format Alexa cameras. So they shot the film digitally on one of the large format digital cameras. And after they edited the film, they they printed it onto 65 70 millimeter film and then did a bleach bypass onto that print to change the overall look of it, and then scanned the film back to digital. So so that they would get some of the grain from it being on film stock, and they would soften it a little bit, uh, and then get like a real bleach bypass look to it instead of like a fake digital bleach bypass look to it. And so they did that as the finishing for the film, so that the movie, like the Batman, uh has doesn't look quite digital, but it doesn't look quite like film.
Hmm.
And since they were going for a very stylized, almost 70s feeling to it, even though, I'm pretty sure it takes place in modern day, but they wanted it to feel kind of like modern, but not modern at the same time. It does achieve a pretty cool look. And the cinematographer for the Batman, Greg Fraser, is the same cinematographer for Dune, so it makes sense that he did the same thing on the Dune movies.